Happen.
Yeah, Habiba.
Sir, due to some health problems, I didn't attend the last two classes, sir.
Yesterday you did not attend. Okay. Nishwita, can you explain, summarize the yesterday's class? Exception handling. Nishwita?
Okay, so in yesterday's class, we talked about exception handling. Exception handling is a handling of some. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Handling of? Yeah.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Exception handling of some unknown exceptions or
Okay.
some errors or mistakes which are done while compiling the code. There are three types of exceptions: checked exceptions, unchecked exceptions, and errors. Errors are usually they are done uh, while coding, like syntax errors or logical errors, and they can be solved by and they can be solved by the programmer. Checked exceptions are the exceptions which occur at the compile time, and they need to be solved for the code to run smoothly.
Okay.
Some of the checked exceptions are SQL exceptions related to databases, and
Right.
IO exceptions which are related to files like and unchecked exceptions are the exceptions which occur at runtime, and some of the examples are arithmetic expressions and
All right. So the summary is you have checked exceptions, unchecked exceptions, and errors. Right. So the checked exceptions are basically where compiler will
right.
warn you if you do not write the exception handling. Those are all database related or file related, right? And
Okay.
runtime exceptions are null pointer exception, array index bound exceptions, string out of bound exceptions, where they're all your
Yes.
software bugs.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So what are the errors? Errors are beyond your control, like
Syntax
memory is
errors.
full, hard disk is full, network is down, database is down. Those are all beyond your control. So these are the three types of exceptions. So what are the different keywords that yeah, Divyasri, can you tell me what are the different keywords that we use in exception handling?
Yes, sir. Try, catch, one and another is finally, and throw. These are the keywords, sir.
Okay, so can you explain the meaning of each of these keywords? Where do we use this in the exception handling?
Sir, try block we use that in the like where we the code is exception, like where we should place an exception code. There we will use the try, sir. And catch block we'll use to that handle the exception, sir. And finally block is used like when necessary code is when necessary code we should execute in the program. At that time we'll use the finally block, sir.
Okay, what is an example? Can you tell me where what kind of code we write in the finally block?
um okay. Yes, sir. I'll tell, sir.
Closing the files or closing the database connections, all the cleanup related stuff, we generally write it in the finally block.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And throw keyword you'll use when we will throw an exception.
Okay. So throw is something that if a method doesn't want to handle it, it can throw the exception. And
Yes,
who will handle the exception thrown by this method? The calling method will take care of handling the exception thrown by the called method. Right? What is throws? What is the throws keyword? Where do we use the throws keyword?
like it is used when we will declare the exception.
Yeah, when in the method declaration, we say what all exception this particular method will throw. All right, so that the calling method either handles it or it can throw it back to its parent. Okay, so that is the summary of what exception handling is, right? Okay,
Yes.
so today we're going to talk about threads. Have you heard of threads? Anybody know what is a thread? Archana, Rekha? Whoever do not have any data issues, could you all please switch on your videos? Soumya, Devender, Nishwita, do you have any data issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rekha. So, see, unless you are in some attending it from, your office or something, if you don't have a problem, you should switch on your videos. So then you will feel like you're in a real class. Otherwise, you're hiding behind blackboard, right? Okay. So, so Habiba, have you heard of process and threads?
Yes, sir, but I don't know in details.
Okay. So, Uday, do you know what is a process and what is a thread?
No, sir.
Okay. So, anybody knows? Prashant, do you know what is a process and thread?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So, let me just explain. Let's go back to the real world example. How many of you actually seen the large cooking, where a catering or the hotel cooking? How many of you physically seen it?
I am.
You all have saw that? What
Yes.
happens in the large kitchen of a hotel or a catering kitchen? What happens there?
Many people take different tasks, cutting vegetables like that.
Exactly. So there are multiple tasks are happening in parallel, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the thread is a unit of execution. So to understand it easily, so what is the unit of execution in all these kitchens?
Cooking.
So some are basically cutting vegetables, right? Some are cooking, right? Some are actually, so there are multiple tasks that are happening, right? So thread is nothing but it's a unit of task, unit of execution, which is an independent task, which can be taken. That is called a thread. What is the process? Does anybody know what is the process? Hmm? How many of you actually opened a task manager? How many of you opened a task manager? Hmm? Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right? So this is called task manager. What are these? You see multiple these are all called processes. So what are the processes? Eclipse is one process. Google Chrome is another process, right? Antivirus, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, Paint. So these are all what? These are all the executables, right? So what is the process? Every executable will run its own process phase. Is that clear to everyone? What is the process? Swati, did you understand? Prashant, did you understand?
No, sir. Not logically.
Okay, so have you seen, so you all use Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, right?
Yes,
Do
sir.
you use Word doc? Have you ever opened Word or PowerPoint or Excel?
Yes, sir. Used it.
Okay, so what happens when you click on Excel? Excel application is open, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what does it actually mean? This Excel application is open.
One software is running.
The
One
software is running, right? So when software is running, what does it mean by software is running?
uh,
Executing.
Executing. So what is execution? Who is executing the software?
Developer.
Huh? Developer. No, the execution is taken care by who? Developer is not. Developer is clicking on the Excel.
CPU.
But actual execution is happening where?
CPU. Hardware.
Yeah, in the computer, your CPU or hardware is taking, right? How does each of the executable run? Each of the executable runs as a process. Okay, each of the executable Chrome browser is a separate process. That's why you're seeing here, right? So what are these? You see that they are called processes. You see their processes? What are the processes running? I am running Eclipse. The Eclipse is, what is an Eclipse? What is an Eclipse?
It's a software.
It's a software. That's an executable, right? So you see, I'm running Eclipse. So what do you see here? So that is so Eclipse is separate this thing. So what does each of the process will have? Right? If you see what does it has?
Separate memory.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Basically, there is you see here CPU. How much CPU it is using, how much memory it is using, how much hard disk it is using, how much network each of these processes are using. Okay. So this is what is called the process. Okay. So what is a thread? A process, each process contains multiple threads. Okay. Thread is a unit of execution. Right. So how do you understand what is an unit of execution? So you all use Amazon or Flipkart, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how many people are using the Amazon or Flipkart to place the orders? The millions of them.
Multiple people.
So there are millions of people are using Amazon or Flipkart to place their order, right? So how do we place the order? Through the browser. So how are we placing the order? Through your web browser. So these orders are received by what?
Flipkart server.
Flipkart server, correct. So each of the orders are being processed by a separate thread in the Flipkart. Okay, so there are millions of people ordering Amazon or Flipkart. These millions of each order is run, is a process creates separate thread to handle the each customer separately. So the thread process contains multiple threads. And each thread will directly work with a particular user. So the request submitted by the browser is received by a thread on the server and it takes care of processing it. So that is what is how the threads are. That is the difference between process and thread. One process contains multiple threads. And Amazon server is one process. In the Amazon or Flipkart server is one process. Within that, there are hundreds of threads are being created to take care of all these concurrent requests. What is a concurrent request? What is a concurrent means? Swati? So you're not talking much today.
Multiple requests at one time.
Exactly. So concurrent request means how many people say get a given point of time, how many requests Amazon or Flipkart receives? Maybe 100 to 1,000 people are placing the order at the same time. What is the time right now? Right now time is 10:10, 11:21. So Amazon receives 100 orders parallelly. Right? Every second they receive 100 orders. That means what? There are 100 concurrent requests Amazon or Flipkart server are receiving. So Amazon, Flipkart, they have 100 threads. that receives these requests and process it. Okay, that is what is called the concurrent. Concurrent means parallel. It is like 100 national highways parallelly going together, so that 100 people are driving on 100 national highways. Okay, that is what is called the thread. Thread is unit of execution. So that is thread is very essential for what is the purpose of thread? Why do we need threads? So we just discussed about it, right? Why do we need threads?
To handle multiple
Exactly, right? To do the
executions.
parallel, so that so multiple hundreds of requests can be handled. Okay. So if let's say if 100 parallel requests has to happen in the physical world, what do we do? How do you handle this 100 requests in the physical world?
100 people will be assigned.
Exactly. So 100 people are required to receive the 100 orders parallelly. So the threads will do the same kind of this thing using threads. Right? That's the power of this threads. Okay. So Java has a facility. So Java provides this thread facility, right? Let's look at what is a thread. So what are some of the other examples? So what is the unit of what kind of a unit of execution happen? Let's say from your program. So you open your Word or Excel, you do the print, right? So while printing, you can still edit the Excel or Word. Have you noticed it? So if I have print, I can print it, right? So while printing is going on, I can still go ahead and type it. So the printing is going on, I can still go ahead and type the document. So what does it mean? So they're all independent tasks. Printing is an independent task and editing is an independent task. So printing is taken care by the separate unit of execution, that is a thread in the Word or Excel. Similarly, you want to send an email. Email is a separate independent task. Okay. All right. So these are some of the how the threads are useful. Receiving web requests across the world. This is like Amazon or Flipkart. Or any complex task which takes time to complete, then that can be a separate task. Let's say if a particular computation takes 10 minutes or 15 minutes, so you create a separate thread, and in that thread, you run the complex calculations. Okay. So what are the states of a thread? Right? If you look at it, these are all the various states of a thread. Okay, a process, these are all multiple process. Each process contains multiple threads. So this is how the logically the process and thread and their relationship. So take 1 minute. Huh? So just let me ask them to stop it. Somebody is Okay, sorry, somebody was making noise. Okay, so what are the various states of a thread? State, the initial state is new, and then the next state is runnable. So ready to be run. Once the CPU is given to thread, it goes into running state. Okay, so you create a new thread, then it moves into runnable state. Once the CPU is given, it goes into a running state. When the thread is over, the state is called terminated. So these are the three additional states: blocked, waiting, and timed waiting. What is the blocked state? So if multiple threads require a same shared resource, so this is like, okay, to give you an example, let's say if, so there is only one stove is available, right? So 3 people have to cook 3 different dishes. What do we do?
One should
Hey, I
wait.
want everyone to talk, not in a passive listening. Divyashri, Kushuma, Nishvita, Prasad, sorry, Swati. What happened, Swati, today? Are you listening, Swati? Sai, Sai Ram, Rekha. See, if you don't talk, I'll stop the class. Do you want me to stop the class, or you're all going to be in interactive mode?
Interactive mode, sir.
So tell me then why you're all in the silent mode? Rekha? Tejaswini? Hmm? See, when I ask you to answer it, you should respond. Otherwise, I'll stop the class. I'm not interested in continuing the class. Right? So Tejaswini, see, if there is a kitchen, there is only one stove is available, 3 people have to cook. What do?
Allowing to cook one after one, sir. One
Exactly. So that means when one is cooking, the other two are what? What
Waiting.
mode they are in?
waiting.
Exactly. So they're in the waiting mode, correct? The same way, this is what is called the block. So here, what does it mean is, so in the case of 3 chefs are waiting, one chef will acquire the lock. So in the software world, that is equivalent to acquire the lock of that particular stove. So then completes his cooking
Ah,
and then releases the lock. So that is what is called the blocked state. So when a shared resource has to be, resource is one, but multiple people have to use it, then whoever acquires the resource, lock it, use it, and release it. That is what is called the blocked state. Okay. So this is similarly, so let's say printer. There are multiple people need to print it. What happens? So one person gets the printer resource, print it, releases it, next person, right? So similar to that. So that is what is called the blocked state. What is waiting? So the waiting is, producer and consumer problem. What is producer? Do you know, have you heard of producer and consumer problem?
yes, sir.
What is the producer and consumer problem?
When a customer requests one of the product, if
Mm-hmm.
product is not available,
Mm-hmm.
producer or supplier will give some time for consumer to wait.
Exactly.
And
So then that means basically is waiting. So that state is called the waiting, right? The same way
Sir,
here. So in the case of here, if a resource is not available, what are the software resource is not available, then the thread goes into waiting mode. And then when will it wake up? Once the resource is available, then it gets a notification saying resource available. It wakes up and gets into the run mode. That is called the waiting state. Okay. The next
example,
state. Yeah. Tell me, what is the question?
Sir, I'm saying example, sir.
Uday, yeah.
Yeah, sir. When our phone has switched off, someone calls. When our phone switch on, it will get notification, no, sir.
Exactly
Or
the same way. Exactly the same way. So when you switch on and switch off the phone, then you get a notification, right? You received a
sir.
missed call.
Yeah.
Exactly. The same way here, whatever the software resource it is waiting on, if it is not available, the thread goes into waiting mode, right?
Sleeping.
Exactly. For example, let's say one thread is writing to the file and another thread is reading from the file. Okay. So then basically the thread that writing the file is, so then wants to read it another thread. If the file is not ready, what does it do? It waits for the writing thread to complete before it can read it. Once the writing thread completes its writing, then it says, it notifies the waiting thread, says, I am done my job. Then the reading thread will wake up and read the file, right? That is what is called the waiting state. Okay. So then the another is called timed waiting. What is timed waiting? So it's like, the chef, there are multiple people working in the kitchen, right? They all take rest, isn't it? So they want to take rest for 5 minutes. So before continuing their job, similar to that. So here the rest is, it goes into sleep for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. So whenever you use the sleep for 5 seconds and 10 seconds, that is called the timed waiting. Clear, everyone?
Sir, I had a question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, time we will fix time, sir. Like otherwise, it takes time, sir.
No. See, while writing the code, you decide how much time you want to sleep. That is, the programmer will decide. Depends
Okay, sir.
on the
Processor,
business requirement.
distance between processor to processor.
Exactly.
Sir,
Okay.
okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So these are all the various threads. So how many of you understood the concept of threads? Can somebody summarize? Uday, did you understand whatever we discussed so
Yes,
far?
sir. Yes, sir.
Can you explain what is thread and
Yeah.
what are the various states and all?
Yeah, mainly thread is known as multitasking. Sir, thread is known as a unit of test, sir. Thread is known as a unit of test.
Okay.
Uh, a thread contains multiple process at a time.
No. Thread contains multiple process contains multiple thread.
Sir, process contains multiple threads at a time,
Correct.
but thread
Okay.
decides to move one by one. It's known as threads.
Okay.
Thread
So
replaces
when do we need to go use for threads? When do we need to have a multiple threads?
example printer or emails or web
Okay.
accessing.
Okay.
Parallel
Okay.
execution, we
And
need
we
thread.
use it in Word, MS, Excel's task by task.
Exactly. Right. So the best example to understand is Amazon and Flipkart, right? Or
Yes, sir.
any kind of an e-commerce applications.
Yes, sir.
So
Order by order.
yeah, the e-commerce
Same.
applications has parallel orders, right? If you take Swiggy, Zomato,
Zomato.
or Uber, or Ola, they receive hundreds of parallel orders, concurrent orders, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So these orders are received. How is it being processed by these servers? They process them using the threads. So
Threads.
each thread is opened for a separate user. Right? As soon as the server receives the request from a user, so that is given to a particular thread. A new thread is open and that is given. That thread will take care of that particular user. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So now what are the various states of a thread? Swati, can you explain what are the various states of a thread that we just discussed? Or Rekha, can you explain? What are the various states of a thread that we just discussed? Rika, are you there? Sairam? Sunita? Kusuma? Can you explain?
User threads and domestic threads, sir.
Sorry?
User threads.
No. What are the we just discussed about multiple thread, the life cycle of a thread, right? Thread goes
Yes, sir.
into multiple states.
Yes,
New
sir.
state,
New state,
runnable.
runnable state,
Okay.
running state, terminated state, sir.
Okay. So what is the initial state of a thread?
It is a new state, sir.
New state, correct.
Once the task
Okay.
is assigned, it goes to the runnable state.
Right.
After that, it goes to the running state when it is active, sir.
When
Once
its CPU is when the CPU is assigned to the thread, that is the
thread,
running state.
running
Okay.
state. Once the task is completed, it goes to the terminated or the dead state, sir.
Correct. Okay. So besides
And
that, what are the other three states we just discussed?
it is
Blocked, waiting, and timed
block
waiting.
state,
Block waiting.
waiting and timed waiting, sir. Block state is nothing but till one complete task is completed, till that it will be blocked, and then when task is completed, it will be released, sir. One after the other, the task will be done.
No. It is not the task. It's called shared resource. What did I
Okay,
say about the
sorry.
blocked state? When you have
Shared
a
resource.
multiple threads that need the same resource, like a printer, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Like a printer, like a file. What are the resources? Printer is one resource or a file. If multiple threads has to read from a single file and one file is writing to the file, if the file is not ready, the reading threads, what do they need to do?
They will be waiting, sir.
They need to waiting. They may go into the waiting. So they basically, until that file is free, so then basically they'll go into the waiting state. Once the file is free, then they acquire the lock of the file, read it. After reading, they release the lock.
Okay,
Then the next file, they take the lock, read it, release the lock. That is what is called the blocked state and waiting state.
yes, sir.
What is the
Waiting
timed
state is,
waiting?
like it goes to the waiting based on the timing, sir.
Okay. All right. So let us explain these concepts using the programs, so that you can understand easily. Let's look at the Java programs. Okay. So okay. So this is the first program. The thread can be created in two ways, either by extending the thread or implements runnable. There are two ways you can create the thread. There are two ways you can create the thread. What are the two ways? So first way is extends the thread class. Second is implements runnable.
Interface.
Okay. So what is the difference between this? Implements is, when do we use the implements keyword?
When there is interface.
Exactly. Runnable is interface, right? Thread is a class. So how do you create? There are two ways you can create the thread: by extending the thread class or implement the runnable. In both scenario, you have to. So what is the method what is the thread code? The thread code will be in this. So whichever the approach you use, the method that you need to write, public void run. The thread task code will need to be written in this method. Okay, clear? Okay, so this is the main method. Now the approach by extending the thread, how do you create thread, right? So you have a thread example. So you create the thread object. Then, so to start, you need to call. This is creation of thread object. This is called starting a thread. What is the state is called? Starting a thread. When you start a thread, what state it goes into? It gets into runnable state. What is the state it gets into? A runnable state. Okay. So here, this is called new state. When you create the state, it's called new state. So when you say start, so that means it is a runnable state. So when will this code gets executed? When the CPU is assigned to this thread, then it comes and executes this. So that is called the running state. When it is in running state, then, sorry. So this is the running state. Okay, clear? So now if I run it, let me show you. So when I run it, so thread is running. So thread is created. So where is this message? Thread is running here. Nice, runnable message. So you create a thread class. How do you? This is the main class. So this is the main method. This is the thread object, thread, this thing. So you create the thread object. So then you call the start method. When you call the start method, CPU is assigned. Once the CPU is assigned, this method will be executed. Okay. So this is one of the approach by extending the thread. Let's look at the runnable. Oh, the same thing. How do you do the runnable? So here you have a my runnable, implements the runnable, the same. It's called run method. Again, you create the, here what is the difference? So the difference between this and this is, so you don't pass any parameter to the new object. So here in this case, you have to pass the runnable object to the thread. Okay, the runnable object need to be passed here. So that is the difference. The constructor of a thread, in case of when you are extending the thread, the constructor will be empty constructor. In case of a runnable, you have to pass the parameter. Runnable object need to be passed. Okay. So now if I run this, okay. So this is how these are the two ways in which we can run the, create the thread and run the thread, right? Okay. So now let's look at the daemon thread. So in the thread, what is a daemon thread?
Which runs background.
Yeah, exactly. So daemon threads are called background. They run in the daemon. The daemon thread is called daemon threads run in the background. Why do we need a daemon thread? Can anybody think of what are the business applications of a daemon thread? So there are many scenarios, right? For example, how many of you actually, when you go to a website, there is a chat room available? You go to any bank website, there are actually nowadays it's called artificial intelligence chat websites are available. Has anyone experienced it?
No, sir.
Can I help you? You go to Amazon or Flipkart, it says, can I help you? Or you go to the web, it says, can I help you? So then when you start entering the message, who is responding? The computer, artificial AI chat is responding to you, right?
Support team.
Right.
Support
So
team.
that is all called customer support. Okay. So then the daemon thread could be is, okay, when somebody gives, start interacting, there is a hi message. Daemon thread could be monitoring those, saying, hey, somebody is trying to interact and assign to a there. So that is called the daemon threads. Another is, you all know log files. Have you heard of the concept called log files? What is a log file?
Information.
No, log file is, see, it is the runtime, all the running, while the programs are running, right? Amazon servers, Flipkart servers, they're all running and handling the continuously running and handling the customer orders, right? So every order request, they're all being written to a file. They're all being written to a file continuously. The order is received, the order is assigned to a delivery agent, all those messages writing to a file, they are called logging. Okay, so the log daemon thread could be one of the tasks which monitors these files and see if there are any error messages in these log files. See, is the server is running fine? Are there any error messages? Those are all the things a daemon thread can open it and check any error messages and alert the management. Hey, some errors are happening. Please check it out. So these are all called the daemon threads. Okay. So the daemons are there multiple. For example, what is the size of any large data center? Any idea what is a data center? Have you heard of the term data center? Uday, Tejaswini, Nishwita, Rekha,
No,
have
sir.
you heard of a data center? Rekha, you must have heard of it. You work with Infosys, right? Data center.
Collecting data, sir.
Huh?
Collecting data and providing in one place.
No, the data center is where all the hundreds of thousands of servers are hosted.
Okay, sir.
So that is called a data center.
Data center.
Right? The data center is where Amazon or Flipkart, there are some of these data centers. Or what is the size of these data centers? Their size of the data, like football fields, couple of cricket LB Nagar LB Stadium or couple of LB stadiums, the size of that is where the large data centers, thousands of servers are hosted there. When you have thousands of servers hosted, how do you know whether what is the health of a server? So there are a lot of daemon processes running in the background to check whether the server is in good health or bad health. Right? So these are all multiple uses of the daemon thread. Okay? Is it clear, everyone? So how do you create a daemon thread? So the daemon thread is very simple. All is use create a thread and make it as set daemon equal to true. Then it runs in the background. Right? So you use the setter method called set daemon true, then it runs in the background. Okay, clear everyone? Any questions on what is the daemon thread? Sunita, Shishindra? Swati? Or Chandu? Okay, so that is what is called the daemon thread. So if you look at it, so in this program, yeah, somebody is talking. Okay, so now let's look at this program. There is a log monitor daemon class. So where the log file, this is where the log file is located. So create the thread. So we're creating this thread. So this part is called the lambda expressions. Okay, I will not talk about it. So where instead of writing the run method, you can write the interface of a run method as a lambda expression. This is called lambda expression. The thread will have a run method and the code of a run method is written in the lambda expressions. Okay, so probably I'll explain about lambda expressions in next class. So here, this is the run method, right? So that is the thread. Then it is set as a daemon true, and then the thread is started. After the thread is started, then the main thread goes into sleep mode for 10 seconds. Okay. So then let's run this. See here. So it is keep on checking for 10 seconds. So every 2 seconds, it wakes up, reads the log file and writes it. After 10 seconds, then main program exits and the daemon thread also exits. Okay. Clear? Daemon thread. Okay. The second concept is called synchronized. What is the synchronized? Synchronized is when a resource, for example, your bank balance is there, right? So you have a bank account, the bank balance is there, and so you are actually trying to withdraw, transfer to a friend, bank balance say 1,000 rupees. At the same time, you have a loan in the bank, and bank wants to, so there is called auto debit. Have you heard of auto debit? Prashant,
Yes, sir.
what is an auto debit?
If we give a specific day for our EMIs or loan balance to deduct, it will deduct at that.
Okay. See, so now auto debit also means what? It has to take the money from your account, right? And at the same time, you are from the same account, you are transferring the money to your friend. Say both the operations are exactly happening at same, let's say at 11:55. Then what happens? If we allow both the things happening exactly the same, then what happens? Can we allow it?
No, sir.
Cannot. So see these these debit or credit operations always should be one after another, right? So either first debit or credit or first credit or debit. So all these transactions must be executed sequentially. So you cannot have multiple threads accessing the same shared resource in parallel. That is where the synchronized. The moment you say that these deposit, that is credit or withdraw methods, all these methods, you make them synchronized. What does the synchronized do? Whenever Java sees synchronized, that particular object lock is given to only one thread. So every synchronized operation, a lock is given. It's like a lock. What is a lock? It's like your door, lock to your door.
Cannot be accessed by others.
It cannot be accessed by others, right? Similarly, that object, whenever synchronized, a method is synchronized, so then there will be, it is locked. So that lock is given to only one thread. So the thread takes the lock, does its operations. So for example, you want to transfer, then it debits the money from your friend, to your friend, then closes it, then your auto debit will take the lock and performs it. So that is what is the purpose of synchronized. Whenever a shared resource needs to be there, then you need to have a synchronized. These critical operations like debits or credits, they all need to be have the synchronized mechanism. Okay, that is the purpose of synchronized, right? So let's run this. So what is that you have to do? So how do you create a synchronized? Any method that performs the critical operations, so you need to declare them as a synchronized. Like deposit is a critical operation, withdraw is a critical operation, right? So then basically you created two threads, thread 1 and thread 2, and this is both threads are started. So let's run the, okay. So this is the mechanism where deposit, new balance, withdrawal, new balance. So that's the order in which they all will be executed. So you are trying to do this in a loop of 5 times. Deposit 100 rupees, withdraw 50 rupees. So these two will be, once they're synchronized, they will be done one after another. They will not be run in a parallel way. Okay. So we have seen synchronized, we have seen the daemon thread. So what is the daemon thread? Can somebody tell me what is the daemon thread? Chandu? Chandu, are you there? Sairam? Swati? Kusuma? Tejaswini?
Sir,
Tell me, what is the daemon thread?
run in the background, demon.
Okay. So when do we need to run this thread? Can you give an example? I discussed about the right. When do we need to run it in the background?
When we
What are the
as
scenarios? Huh?
when we open the website, we saw the support team chat box.
Okay, support team chat box or okay. What is the other example that I given?
Data center.
Sorry?
Data center.
Yeah, data basically, right? So you have basically, so you wanted to have continuously monitor the customer support messages or log messages. Then the daemon thread will be run in the background, continuously monitors this log file and checks for any errors or anything. That is called the daemon thread. Okay. So what is the synchronized? What is the purpose of synchronized keyword?
Allowing to execute one after another, sir.
Okay, what is allowing to execute one after another? What exactly are we talking about here?
Debit credit operations.
No, what is the, okay, that is fine, but what is the primary purpose of this? Did you understand the concept?
Yes, sir.
So what is the concept behind synchronized?
Particular object is locked and given to the process to one thread,
Exactly.
which will
That's like
which
a
will be
resource, right? You
mm,
did not talk about. So all the critical resources. What are the critical resources? Your bank account is a critical resource, right? So can you allow multiple people to do parallel credits and parallel debits at the same time to your bank account?
No,
no,
sir.
sir.
So that is what is called the critical resource. Like a printer is a critical resource. Printer always executes in sequential mode, isn't it? Can printer print it in parallel mode?
No, sir. It will be in the sequence mode.
Sequential mode, right? Similarly, your bank account is a critical resource. Your printer is a critical resource, right?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, let's say you're booking your railway reservation or bus reservation. Can you allow the multiple people to book the ticket parallelly, allow the seating parallelly, or your movie tickets? Can you allow that particular operation in parallel?
No, sir, it will be done one after another.
Exactly. So if there are 100 people trying to book the railway reservation, so then basically is that exact operation of booking is always sequential, right? So these are all critical resources. So what is the purpose of synchronized? All the critical resources like this, right? The railway booking, the bus booking, movie ticket booking, your bank account, all these printer, these are all the critical resources. So their operations must be controlled using synchronized so that only one thread will execute that operation, finishes it quickly and releases the lock and gives it to the next thread. That is the purpose of synchronized. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next thing. So we talked about thread creation. We talked about synchronized. We also talked about the daemon, right? Okay. So now let's look at the next one is called interrupt. What is the next operation? Is called interrupt. So in the thread, what is interrupt? What is the purpose of interrupt? Right. So so how many of you actually tried the online payment, Amazon or Flipkart? You all have tried, right? Amazon, Flipkart, or Swiggy, Zomato, try paying online.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So while paying, there is a time limit is given. Have you noticed it?
Yes, sir.
So what is the
Yes, sir.
time limit it gives?
In the timeline, we want to complete payment.
Exactly, right? It says, okay, you have to finish it in 5 minutes or 6 minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is where this interrupt is useful. So when if it is payment is not done in 5 minutes, then the thread that is called will interrupt this operation and saying your transaction is failed, your payment has failed. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So the purpose of interrupt is you give a fixed timeline to it. So you create a thread and ask the thread to take care of the payment. And if the payment is not done within the 5 minutes, then interrupt that payment. That is what is called the thread interrupt method is the purpose of that. Okay, let's look at the example here. So this example, you want to download the file in a fixed time. Okay. If the download is not completed, let's say I given 5,000 milliseconds, that is 5 seconds. If the download is not completed in 5 seconds, you sleep for 5 seconds, then interrupt the download function. What is a downloader? So the downloader is a thread. This is a download is a thread. There is a URL. There is a destination path. You are downloading it from a server to your local file. Okay. So then you open that URL and then this is the you write thing and then so this is how anyway, when we talk about files, don't worry about this, what is input stream, output stream. When we talk about the files, you will have clarity. This is just to demonstrate the interrupt mechanism, right? So let me run this. See, it's saying server HTTP response download cancelled by user. See the message? Right? So that means what? After where is that interrupt is coming? So this one started the download, then it slept for 5 seconds, After 5 seconds, it calls the interrupt message, right? So while the 5 seconds, it's trying to download the file here. That is the mechanism. Okay. Then the interrupt comes, then it gets into this IO exception is thrown, interrupted exception is thrown, and this stack trace is printed. Okay, that is the purpose of interrupt. You have an interrupt, you have a daemon, right? So then basically you have synchronized. Is it all clear? Any doubts, any questions? Prashant, is that clear to you?
Yes, sir. One doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
Is there is a way to increase threads dynamically?
What do you mean by thread increase dynamically? What do you mean by that?
For example, Flipkart users at some sale time, there will be lot of users who are accessing. We doesn't know how many users will order at the same time.
Okay.
So so any person should not be interrupted while performing orders, right?
Okay.
So for example, we have only 1,000 threads at a
Mhm.
time. If
Mhm.
orders increase more than 1,000, so how can we
Okay.
detect?
Yeah, so that is what is called the server programming. Well, they're writing it, so they do the what is called the capacity planning. So they do the capacity planning, and then dynamically they know they probably will have 1,000. It can go up to 1,000, 10,000 also. So if it is beyond that, that time I think the orders will fail. So any soft server will have minimum capacity and maximum capacity. If the order reaches the beyond the maximum capacity, then there's nothing that they can do. Clear?
Okay. The same thing happens for OTTs, right? The users keep
Exactly.
on increasing.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now next we will see is something called join. What is the purpose of joining? So there is a method called join. So let's say that you want to get the quotations. So the company wants to buy say 1,000 fans. Okay. So company wants to buy 1,000 fans. So then what do they do generally? Then they get asked the Amazon and Flipkart to give us the quotations. So these quotations are independent tasks, isn't it? Yes or no, Prashant?
Can you come once again, sir? I lost in the middle.
No, see, a company X, right?
Yeah.
Let's say HCL wants to order say 1,000 computers from Amazon or Flipkart.
Yes.
So before ordering, what do? They ask the Amazon to give you the quotations. They ask the quotations parallelly. So one thread is created for getting the quotations from Amazon. Another thread is for getting the quotation from Flipkart.
Okay.
So then if until unless both quotations have come, then the HCL cannot do anything, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So the purpose of join is all the top tasks that it initiated, it has to wait for these tasks to complete. The purpose of join is to wait all the subtasks to be completed before it can perform its task. That is the purpose of join. Join means what? It will wait.
Okay.
So it has to wait until quotation has come from Amazon and quotation has come from Flipkart. So the
Yeah.
purpose of a join in threads is join will make the thread wait for the subtask to be completed before it can continue its process. That is the purpose of join. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the code for what is the join here. Right? So here we are, we have a class called quotation comparison. So we have a thread called quotation fetcher, that is called the quotation fetcher is a thread, right? So that is a thread, and so this thread is simulating, it is randomly generating the quotation using a random method and returns this thing. So we are creating, and then so here you create Amazon thread and Flipkart thread. Okay, then start the Amazon thread and Flipkart thread. So there are two threads started. So both threads will go to there and fetch the prices. Then who is calling? The main thread is calling, right? The main thread is created two sub-threads. One is the Amazon thread, another is the Flipkart thread. So then it has to wait both to return. That is what is called the Amazon fetcher.join. And so these thread it wait. Once this returns both the threads, then it will, so it gets the quotations, the prices from Amazon, prices from Flipkart, and then it has a logic saying, look at the price, whichever is lesser, then go ahead and order it from that, either Amazon or Flipkart. Is that clear? So what is the purpose of join?
Waits until subtask completed.
Exactly. The purpose of join is to wait until the subtasks. How does the subtasks are created? Subtasks are created through the threads. You spawn a thread, that thread will take care of the subtask. The main thread will wait for all the subtasks to be completed, then take the data from the threads, the subthreads, and does it performance, right? So let's run this. Okay, so this is what basically Amazon quotation $785, Flipkart 13.6. Company decides to purchase from Amazon. Okay, so that is this thing. Then last one is called wait and notify. So the wait and notify. What is the purpose of wait and notify? We talked about there, right? Blocked, unblocked, and this thing. Wait and notify is like a producer and consumer problem.
So if a thread is locked, it should be wait.
Exactly. So what is the producer and consumer problem? If producer did not have enough supply, consumer has to do what?
Wait.
Wait. Then the moment producer received the supply, what will the producer do? It will send the notifications to the waiting customer. Okay, that is the concept of wait and notify. So if the producer, so if the customer, there are three customers waiting to get the products from a producer, and the producer does not have supply, then all these three customers will go into wait mode. The moment producer receives the supply, he will send the notify to inform all these waiting three customers, hey, received the supply. Then these three customers will wake up and take the product from the producer. That is what is called the wait and notify concept. Understood? Anyone? Rekha, Sushmita, Tejaswini, Habiba, Nishwita. You all understood? Chandu? Prashant, did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So that is called the wait and notify. Right? So that is what is called. So if you look at this main code, so this is the main. So you have consume, you have producer thread, you have a consumer thread, and then you have a main. So you create the producer thread, create the consumer thread, and start the producer thread and consumer thread. Okay. So then, so in the case of a producer thread, what does it do? In case of a producer thread, so it produces it. It produces and goes into sleep mode. In case of a consumer, right? So it consumes the buffer and it goes into sleep mode. So in case of a main, so where this produce and consume methods, what are they doing? In case of a produce, it reaches the maximum capacity, producer will wait. That means as produce is the maximum, then it will wait until consumer consumes it. Right? So otherwise, it will produce and add it to the list. In case of a consumer, what does it do? If the list is empty, that means there is nothing to consume, then it will wait. Okay. So once the producer produces it, then it will call the notify. Okay. So producer will call the notify, and then consumer will, then it will wait here and then it will consume. Okay. So this is anyway a little complex to understand here, but all of you please go through the code and we can probably need to have a separate session on this. Okay, but at the conceptual level, so let's summarize the concepts. Can somebody quickly summarize what are all the various concepts we discussed with threads? Prashant, can you quickly summarize? Looks like others are not acting much.
Yeah, thread is a unit of execution, and process has multiple threads. Threads has different states. As when a thread is created, it is new state. When it is started, it is a runnable state, and when it is completed, it is terminated state.
Okay.
And the purpose of threads are when parallel executions are required, we go for multiple threading. And
okay. So what are the
thread
other
can
concepts?
be created by two ways, by extending a thread class and implementing runnable interface.
Right. Okay.
And another part is daemon thread, which runs in background. If any process need to be run at the time of request, it can be used as a daemon thread.
Right.
And the another part is synchronized thread. If we want perform some critical actions, we need to make a thread as synchronized thread.
Okay.
And
what else? Interrupt. What is interrupt?
Yeah, interrupt is a task which is has limited time,
right,
which has to perform within a limited time.
Correct.
Yeah, we go for interrupt.
Okay. So interrupt that if it is not completed in that given time, then you call the interrupt so that the operation is interrupted. Okay.
And wait and notify.
Right.
Yeah, if a thread is locked, we will wait. If that thread finishes the task, it should be notified to get another thread to be use that particular resource.
Okay. And then join.
Join is it is the same as wait process, but the thing is it waits for subtask to complete, and then it joins two tasks.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's about the thread. So let's start the quiz, online quiz. I'll share the link. Yeah, Rekha, you said some doubt. What is the doubt? You put the message there. So you are not able to talk, is it, Rekha? What is your doubt? Okay, great. All right, so this is your online quiz. All of you, please complete it.